So thank you very much for this opportunity. We have with us Dr. Saif Sheikh, and Dr. Saif is past SSGSA chair, and he is also vice president of a pharmaceutical company and has a tremendous amount of experience in mentoring students. And actually, I am also one of the scholars he mentored and made sure that I succeed. So I'm very excited to present this webinar with him.
Mohsin bhai, I would also.
Hello.
Yeah, there was some disturbance due to unmuting of one of the participants.
Okay.
Yes.
So just to interrupt Mohsin bhai, actually I should have given the introduction in more detail. So,
oh yeah, sure, please, Vasikul, go ahead.
Yes. So welcome all the SSGSA webinar participants. So in today's our webinar, so it will be on university selection and preparing strong applications for MS PhD abroad. As Mohsin bhai said, we have actually two speakers today. Our main speaker will be Mohsin bhai, Mohsin Khan. He has been one of the SSGSA scholar in 2010, and then also later on he became the chair of SSGSA from 2013 to 15. He did his MSc in chemistry from AMU. Then he came to US, did his MS, and right now he is almost going to complete his PhD from University of Maryland. And he has been also, for example, he has been mentor for many students, including me. And another speaker co-speaker will be Dr. Saif Sheikh. He has been one of the founders of SSGSA, and he has also served as chair of SSGSA from 2011 to 13. So he has also studied from AMU, he did MSc, then he did PhD from IIT Kanpur, then he did postdocs at Purdue, Johns Hopkins, University of Pittsburgh, did his MBA from University of Pittsburgh, etc. And as Mohsin bhai said, he is the vice president of GRE Pharmaceuticals in Illinois, near Chicago. So we are greatly privileged that two of our past chairs and two of our mentors are here. So it's a great opportunity for our SSGSA webinar participants to learn from them, to know from them. If you have any question, you can always ask. We are experts. And when I was also applicant, when Rajat was also applicant, they actually helped us. They actually guided us. So you are really lucky that both of them have come together. Okay, so we will start our webinar, and I will just give it to Mohsin bhai. So Mohsin bhai, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vasikul and Rajat, for organizing this. I'm very excited to talk to the applicants. And Safi, would you like to add something before we go ahead?
Yeah, so I would also like to welcome all the attendees, who have taken time on their Saturday evening. I know, a lot of activities we also used to do when we were in Aligarh and in Saturday evening, nights, go to movies, etc. But that shows the dedication of the students who are joining in to attend this important seminar. So hopefully they will get benefited, and also thanks to Rajat and Vasikul to organize the event. Mohsin, continue.
Okay, thank you so much. Rajat, can we go to the next slide?
Yeah.
So the webinar would be in a way that we will go into the details, and if there are some pressing questions, please feel free to write them in the message box. And most of the questions we would like to answer once we are at the end of the webinar. So Rajat, we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the first thing, we have structured the webinar a bit differently that you would see. We have focused on some of the things which are very hard to find, particularly researching about the researchers and finding out their funding profiles and things. So we will talk about in details. So the first thing will be start early. as early as you could. This is a long process. It takes quite a bit of time, starting from putting together your application to researching the professors you are interested in, communicating with them, getting done with all the required exams, and putting the package together, refining it, sending it out. So it is a lengthy process. So as early you start, it would be better. The second big thing would be to get involved in the research. Obviously, you're going into a master's or PhD where you will be working in the lab, contributing to the projects, or maybe building a new project, doing things. So research always helps, not only in starting that process in part of your master's or PhD program, but also helping you get into the labs. The third point is choose your area of interest. This is very important. The earlier you know what kind of research excites you, the earlier you know what kind of things you want to do in the future or perhaps rest of your life, is actually helps, because you then have a sort of clear idea what kind of groups you should be looking for, what kind of universities have that set up for you where you can go and thrive. So obviously, what are your career goals, and how this master's or PhD program will help you advance your career. So you have to relate these three things, and then going into more details like researching about potential advisors and obviously universities. So we will talk about it, the procedure, the process, how we should be doing that. Making the contacts. I think this is one of the biggest point, I would say. And if you can have good communication with the advisors, and both of you are on the same page and they like you and you like them, I think it helps, because many times the established investigators, they have quite a bit of power in making the admission decisions. So I think you should keep that in mind. Application first draft, obviously I would suggest have it ready at least 6 months before the deadline. The reason I'm saying this is because you have to revise your content many times, and sometime up to your, like, the point when you are ready to submit it, because the more time you give to your application, the more refined the package will look. So give yourself time, and quite a bit of time, and I would not suggest doing things at the last moment, because then obviously once the package will go, it will reflect that things were put together in hast, rather than like a pre-planned research application where you have devoted quite a bit of your time, and which will look pretty good, because then the people who are looking at that package would see that this is the person they want, who is prepared, who was putting efforts on it, and it is reflecting in the application. Okay, so the next question would be how your application package fits with the department you want to go into, and perhaps the faculty profile. So in next section, we will talk about some of the things that perhaps help you writing your application package and fine-tuning it for each individual university, and not like submitting the generic format to almost all the places. Biggest question would be to how you find the support. Does your faculty of interest have money? Are there external fellowships available? So these are the things you should be broadly looking for when you're thinking about joining a particular group or research. And for all of this, I will really encourage all of you to write to the SSGSA members, the mentors, and we are here to help you. And over the years, we have realized that people who communicate a lot, ask a lot of questions, they do pretty well because they are aware of the application process, and most of their questions has been answered. Next slide, please. Use the resources SSGSA offers. So we have already done few webinars earlier: introduction, orientation, webinar on resume writing, networking, and effective communication, and also very nice last webinar on how you should be writing your statement of purpose. And I will really encourage you to go back and also go through the past webinars. Next slide, please. In the next few slides, what we're gonna do is we will select like a sort of career research, and like for example choosing field of study, and then we will go through the process how you should be choosing a research field, how then you find the research groups that may fit in that category, and they are like the groups you want to go, and how all this will relate to your future career aspirations. So the next slides are just like example scenarios. So just taken in consideration it as an example, and you use this when you're doing your real search. So next slide, please.
Mohsin, I just want to add here that if any student has any question, they can just write it on the chat box, and before they forget, so those questions will be answered in the order they are received at the end. So feel free to keep writing your questions if you have any while the presentation is going on. Thank you.
And we'll also host a Q&A session after the presentation is done, so you can ask your question directly to the mentor. So just take notes while the presentation is being presented, and if you have any question, any pressing question that you need to ask during the presentation, just ask it on the chat box. Otherwise, we'll also have a Q&A section later.
Thank you. We can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so how I have seen over the years how people find their universities, how they go about it, and most of the time with the Indian students and even other students, I have seen first thing they do is go to the university rankings, and they just go to the US News ranking or some other places, Times university rankings, and then take like top 10 or 15 universities, and they just apply there without like even considering some other factors that may be important. For example, there may be top institutions in a particular field, but perhaps not the field which you are interested in. So I think this is fine. This is a way a lot of people do it, but in this webinar I will go over a process and perhaps suggest a different strategy. So let's do that. How I research about my area of interest, I think you can have multiple things for searching this, but I would just broadly divide into. First is what kind of career opportunities you will have once you graduate. For instance, you did that particular MS or PhD, how that opens up the field for you. And obviously the other question will be looking at the salary expectations, academic versus industry. And this is sometimes important, like, if you have a field that is in demand in academic as well as industry, I think then you are pretty, in good shape. Okay, so obviously the first thing you would do is just like make quick search. I am taking here an example, systems biology. So we will work through this process, just taking systems biology as our example. So you search about careers in systems biology, read about some literature, go about and read the articles and things which are published, and sort of make yourself aware about it. Then obviously you can go to so this process I'm suggesting, this is something you might be looking later down the road once you are done with your program, but you can do it early on as well. So for example, going on to some of the places where people offer jobs and look for what kind of the jobs are there, what kind of the salaries they offer, how much opportunities I have in academics, how many opportunities I could have in industry. Is my field like fits in both academic versus industry? Let's say if I'm not sure if after PhD I would like to go in academics, do I have freeway, I would say, to go into industry? So these are the things you just look. So it helps you find a right field for you, which you are interested in and which is good for your future career as well. And obviously then, let's say you're looking for a particular field, maybe particular industry you would like to work, or particularly firm you are interested in. So there are many resources, like for example here I put Glassdoor, where you can go and read about them. So you read about what kind of work they do, what is the work culture, and what are the expectations they are looking for, and how you will fit in it. So these things will help you actually fine-tune your journey as you go through your graduate programs. Okay, so now we're gonna work through this process. So let's say I'm very interested in a field which is I have taken here is systems biology. Now, how should I search for the individuals, like the people, the researchers I would like to work, who are having some impact on my area of research? These are the people actually that will help me advance my career. So this process is very important. Many of the times, your success would be quite dependent on the research group you're working with or the place you are. So first thing, I would suggest go to the scholar.google.com, and this is Google Scholar is a very nice resource, and you do a simple search. Here I have done, for example, for systems biology, and then you go through some of the research profiles that come in that search. So these are ranked by number of their citations. Obviously, citations is directly correlates the kind of impact one researcher is having, right? So you see there are 3 people on top, for example, Matthias Mann, Pierre Bourque, and Leroy Hood. So I haven't chosen the top 2, I just took the third one. So for example, Leroy Hood, and you see he has a considerable amount of citations, like 140,000. So now I thought, okay, this is the person I may be interested in. And now how I do detailed research about this researcher. Okay, so obviously you go to their profile and then you look for their citations over the years, you look for their H index, and you go through the papers, number of the papers they have published, and these are the things which will help you find if the researcher is good, if he is consistently publishing, how collaborative he is, what kind of following happens once he publishes and puts something out there. So these are the things which will help you, and obviously once you read through some of their work, it will help you decide this is the something you want to do for the rest of your life, this is the something you want to devote your good 5-6 years. So this process, I again emphasize is very important, and you have to do it for almost all the individuals you are interested in. Here we have just taken one example. All right, so you also look for, do they have a consistent publication record? So you see, because it is a very good indicator if the individual, the researcher you are interested in, he is publishing over the years consistently and with quite good frequency. So then what would happen is your chances of getting publication would be similar, if you go in that group, if the dynamics in a way that they publish quite frequently, they are very collaborative, people work with each other, and they publish in good journals. So you would expect something like that happen to you as well once you are done with your thesis research. So using all these resources and making informed decisions is very important. Now you go in much more details. For example, PubMed, you put the author name and then you go through their papers. So for example, here I searched for Leroy Hood, and I found he has published about 932 papers, right? So he has a consistent publication, quite a good number, quite a good citation, and very good following. So what I'm gonna do is perhaps look for some of his publication and read it. Do I like it? is this is something I want to do? So in the next slide, okay, so I go to the article. So for example, when you research and you're reading the papers, I would really recommend you start from the most recent papers, the papers they have published, and then you go backwards, because recent papers usually reflect the kind of direction the lab is taking, the kind of work they are doing. And obviously you can go back and read old papers to just find out what kind of contribution they have done over the time, and particularly the papers where the researcher has communicated them, because many times if the individual is very collaborative, he may have a lot of papers, but maybe just one of the authors, not the corresponding one. So you want to read the first those papers where he is corresponding author. That tells that's the study he helped design, that's the thing he has led this whole process work through. So obviously starting with the latest publication. Okay, so the other resource you could see is going and looking at their funding statement. So and I will explain you how you should do this, and this is some of the things a lot of people don't know, particularly if you just applying to the graduate school. So that's why I included those, and in the next few slides I will explain how you find this information. And usually funding statements also let you know the kind of direction the lab will take, because when they apply for the funding, it is usually 5, 6, or 10 years plan, and all that plan is summarized in their project information, which they have submitted to the funding agency. So this will really give you an idea, perhaps in a decade, what kind of work they will do. Also, you want to look for what kind of academic or industrial impact the researcher has. So I just pulled out some more information for this individual. He has published, and this is old information, you see, he has published 750 papers and received 36 patents, and he has been quite a bit involved putting together different biotechnology companies. So in my experience over the time, I have seen there are individuals who are very good at academics, and they are also good at putting together these startups. And if you go into startups are the companies where you have some sort of idea, you're just trying to fly it and see how that goes. And if you come to a group where the PI, the advisor, is actually very interesting in these sort of things, then it helps. Okay, and the other aspect I will encourage you to look for is what kind of group they have. So once you go to their particular web page, look for how many people they have, what is turnover, how many PhDs they have helped succeed, where they are, whether they are in industry, whether they are in academia, or do they have any research opportunities advertised? And another thing, you can also look for the ethnicities of the individual, because sometimes these all factors are important. You want to go to a group which is very diverse in nature, doing dynamic research, is collaborative, and has a consistent record of helping people succeed. When you search, I think these are some of the factors you should consider. Okay, so here I just pulled out some more information, and this is one of the individual from that particular lab, and he graduated from Leroy Hood's lab with PhD, and he's also quite a bit established. So see, here I'm making a sort of connection. So for example, you started with one individual, now you found another one who does similar research and is also quite established. So we go to the next slide, please. And then you also do this process again, looking for this individual, what kind of group he has. So you see, this is like a iterative process. You keep doing it for all the people you are interested in, and you build this database. You have all this information for you, and this comes quite handy when you're ready for applying to different graduate schools. Okay, so as I said, this is an iterative process. I just put one screenshot where I went back and I looked for this individual and see what kind of publication he's doing, what kinds of citations he has, and things like those. So you get the picture. You have to do this again and again for all the people as you start looking for the individual in your area of research. So as in the beginning we talked about, a lot of people go by universities ranking and they just pull out the top 10 or 15 or 20 universities. Then you don't have this kind of information. I would suggest going backwards. You look for the researcher first, and then you go back and see, does your profile fits with their university, what are their requirements, and how you can get in their research groups.
Mohsin bhai, there is a question from Muhammad Taha Umar. He says, should we go through the papers extremely thoroughly, or just get an idea about the research being conducted by the guide from the papers?
So I think it varies. So I think I also have summarized in the next slide. So basically you start with reading their research statements, right? What they have on the web page. And then perhaps going into the funding agencies where they have submitted some of the information. So from these two resources, you get like a sort of very general idea. And then if you want to have more specific ideas about the research, perhaps I think reading few papers, one or two papers, like latest paper, is not a bad idea. Perhaps you can read not whole paper, maybe abstract, and maybe sometime the summary or discussion to just like get an idea what sort of things they want to solve, what kind of projects they're working on, what kind of problems they love to solve and work on. So yeah, so it depends. If you are really interested in a group, I think it is also a good idea to maybe spend 1 or 2 hours to just go ahead and read their paper. Okay, so I think we missed the earlier slide where this is important, and many times, like over the the time I have spent in the graduate school, made friends, and I know people, and there is a common theme sometimes, the issues they have, and which usually happens if you go to the group which is not very diverse, which doesn't have a good mix. So for instance, let's say you're looking for a researcher, and he is an Asian, right? He is from Asia, and most of the group members are from same country or from same region. So what would happen is you would not have very nice environment, because you don't have culturally mixed people coming from different perspectives, ethnicities, languages, and bringing some sort of diversity. So I would really encourage you to also consider this when you research your academic advisors. Okay, so the bigger question, what about funding? Some people, they might be doing very good science. Do they have money for you? Or perhaps, do they have money for themselves? Can they support you to for a whole period of your PhD for 5 years, 6 years? Do they have money so that you can buy all the reagents and they can support you with the resources? So how you find about these things? So the very good resources is NIH reporter. Most of the US research, like a big chunk of it, is funded by National Institutes of Health and as well as National Science Foundation, NSF. And these are the two places you can search about a particular individual and then find about what kind of money they had. Do they had money in the past? Do they have it now? Fundings and things like you get a very nice picture. So in the next slide, what I have done is I search for the Leroy Hood, and you see he has multiple grants over the years, and he also has money right now. So this on the NIH reporter side, you can find about their funding, you can find about their research statement that will give you an idea what kind of work they are doing or they will be doing. And you will have an idea if you go into that group, what kind of money they have, and then once you sort out these things, then perhaps start reaching out the professors. And I will explain you how you should be drafting your email in the next section. Okay, so here I also search on the National Science Foundation and search for the same individual, Leroy Hood. And you see he also got money from there. And sometimes many researchers do have funding from non-NIH, non-NSF, for example, support from the university. For example, sometimes they have foundation money with them. Sometimes they have a special award, including NIH gives some distinguished award for individuals who are making impact on the field. So these all resources are out there, and you would like to use them to make sort of informed decision when you're considering your academic advisor.
Mohsin bhai, I have a question. Is this specific to just science students, or is it for any student that would like to pursue his or her higher studies in particular field of interest?
Obviously, NIH or NSF, these are more related to the science. NSF does also funds little bit of science, which is not like bench work, maybe some looking at sociological sciences and things like those. But the process is same. Then what you do is, for example, if you're not in a science field, then you look for the foundations and things that fund non-science research, and then you search for them. Like, for example, foundations and sometimes non-profit organizations also have money for those kind of work. But in the US, most of the time, you would see science is more funded than the non-science fields. Nonetheless, for example, arts or non-science fields, sometimes they also have teaching assistantship or the funding from the university. Sometimes they put aside some money so that they also support non-science work.
And we have another question. Is this specific to just US, or are there any other resources available in non-US countries like NIH or NSF?
So these particular resources are for the NIH. I'm not sure about other places, but I think European Union, you could find similar kind of databases. You might have to search for them. And I do believe the UK has a similar national, I think, medical foundation, or if I don't remember the exact name, but the bottom line is when you have to search for these funding agencies and things for a particular country, and then you go into their database and see if they have a database where you can search for a particular individual or university or institution, and then see what kind of money they get over the years.
And is it just related with higher studies of a particular degree, or are these resources valid for internships as well?
Oh, so these resources are valid for internships as well as higher studies, PhD, masters, and even postdoc. Sometimes this is also one of the ways. If you're looking for postdoctoral studies, you can leverage these resources and then try to reach out to people who may fit in that criteria you have.
Great. Thanks.
Mohsin bhai, I have one question.
Yes.
So so far you have talked about a lot, you are talking about different these funding agencies, but actually in science as well, in many different fields, many times the department provides TA positions as well. So so should the applicants also look for that as well, because or at first they should search about the funding conditions about these things, or at first they should write to the graduate coordinator and ask about the funding conditions? What do you think about that?
So one can do a combination of it, and that's what I would suggest. So this is very good because it will let you know that they have sort of hard cash right in the lab, and for instance, there might be TA shifts as well available as well. So if you're going to an university where they have a lot of funding, right, and they also have teaching assistantship, and they also have some university fellowships. So I think that would be pretty good because your chances of getting funded and being funded there are much higher than going to an institution where they don't have a lot of research money and perhaps just teaching assistantship. The second thing is because you want to do research. So if you're going to an institution where you are spending a lot of time just teaching, grading, and mentoring students, so you waste quite of time. Obviously, you learn something, but your goal is more to focus on research. So I have seen that people who go to a lab which is really well funded, so they don't have to worry much about the teaching assistantship. They do well. They actually finish faster. I think I answered your question, right?
And we have another question. As we are talking about researching people and getting into a particular group of research, how is it relevant? How is all this research relevant for a MS student who is like not really into much of a research kind of group? Like he's not trying to enter any research group or something. How is it relevant for him or her?
Rajat, if I interject, because we have like 20 more minutes, and
Okay.
presentation is not complete. As you had said, we can keep the Q&A towards the
Yeah.
end. So that will be better. This is just my suggestion.
Thank you, sir.
No, it's fine. I just didn't take.
I will come back to you. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. So we can go to the next slide. Okay. So some other things you can search for is for that particular lab, do they have really good record of people bringing their own money? For example, pre-doctoral fellowship for themselves or postdoctoral fellowships for themselves. I think this is also very good. You can also look into this aspect. Not only that, I have also put a screenshot here, which if you go to this website of NIH, they have listed like quite a few, maybe, I don't know, maybe over 100 non-NIH funding places where you can apply and either get pre-doctoral fellowships and postdoctoral supports. So I think this helps in many ways. One, you have your own money. It looks very good on resume. Second, once you complete your graduate studies and you're looking for jobs or postdoctoral fellowships, people are more impressed by someone who already have a track record of writing proposals and getting the funding. So they would love to have someone like that in their lab. So please go ahead and use this research as well. In the next slide, obviously there are many non-NIH, non-NSF funding people have, including teaching assistantships available, university fellowships available, and I will let you search this one. You get the picture, how to go through this process and how to go about it. All right, now you think about how to get in the program, particularly the program you are interested in, because you are interested in a kind of research and that program has quite a few faculty that fit in that criteria. Then you look for what are the admission requirements, what I should be doing to get into that program. Okay, so now I went to the university. So see, I started the process in backward direction rather than I go to the university first and then I research people. You could do that as well, but I actually started from back. Now I'm going to the university looking for the graduate school and their department, looking for what kind of requirements are there, and I know I want to work with these people. And then you start the communication, writing to their graduate program director, writing to the professor, finding about more what are the things you should be doing or maybe the criteria you should be fulfilling before you get accepted in their program. So obviously you can look for resources for students going to their, like all the universities have really nice resources for students, not only on the departmental page but also on the graduate school page. And you also sometimes find the stats, means like, you know, how many people have applied, how many were accepted, what kind of GRE scores they look for, what kind of TOEFL scores they look for, and even sometimes you find from where these people come, like, you know, including how many people are international. So I think these all things will help you get an idea what kind of graduate school you're applying to, what kind of university you plan on going to. Okay, this is really important. Sometimes, you know, there might be an university, there is only one researcher, and that's the only one you are interested in, and that's the only one you want to work with. And let's say you apply. It's possible you may get into the program or not. Let's say you get into the program. It is also possible that you may not end up in the group. Things may change, you know, things change as sometimes maybe professor had funding and they didn't have funding, his funding was cut, or maybe he or she changed his or her mind. So you also have to keep like a backup plan. Does that university have some other professor you can fall back onto? And you also try to do that iterative process we talked about and see are they good at publication, you know, the you know, and all other information which you can collect. So I would really encourage you to apply to the school where you have more than one faculty in your area of interest, and then it gives you more leverage. Making strong applications. Okay, so we have a lot of resources for doing this, and for this webinar we have focused in a very different direction. These kind of resources and information usually are not available, so we have fine-tuned in that direction. So all right, going back to the first slide, how you make the no sorry, I was referring to the first slide. Okay, so as we started in the beginning, the first slide, what we said, start early, because all this process will take you time. Collecting this information, going through it, making the application, fine-tuning it in a way that people are interested, and talking to the professor, you know, communicating with them. This all will take you time. Sending the GRE TOEFL scores, sending the letter of recommendations and things like those. So you have to give yourself as much time as you could so that you make a really nice refined application, and you want to have this product well done and not like put together in just a hurry. Getting involved in the research really helps. If you have an experience, you worked in your undergraduate program or master's program, were involved in the research, this will help you a lot. Internships do help as well, so I would really encourage you use your time in summer and winter and look for some research internships. They could be at the industry, they could be at research institutions. Not only that, these are the people who can write you a good letter of recommendations, and if you could show a sort of connection, a letter of recommendation which is more personal because you work there, they know you, you have contributed in some capacity, this will help your application a lot. Obviously, as we talked in the beginning, choose your area of interest, do see how that fits you in your career goals and how the advanced degree will help you. And then, as we talked, research potential advisors, and then universities, and then make contacts. Application first draft, make it early as you could, and revise. There should be multiple revisions to your application. And once you join a graduate program, actually you would see that as well happening. When you write a paper, you revise it a few times, and I think it would be good to start early. and how your application package fits with everything you want to convey to the department and faculty. And obviously we talked about what kind of supports are available there. So as earlier I think Vasikul asked question, once you research all this, you can also reach out to your graduate program coordinator or director and also find out if they don't have enough information on the website about the funding scenarios. Okay, so this slide is put together provided I assume that you have researched the individuals, you have researched their profiles, and you know that they fit, the research and group fits with what you want to do, and you are familiar with the kind of work. Okay, so now how should I contact my professors? And obviously once you have done this research, once you have narrowed down the pupil you are interested in, once you know what kind of work they have done, your emails will be more personal. They would not be generic, like you writing 3-4 lines. Okay, I am such and such, I am from here, I am looking for PhD position, do you have any? I think faculty gets a lot of emails, and you want to have an email that actually gets their attention. You know, they want to read it and they say, okay, this is someone who has gone through some of my work, this is someone who is interested, and I think this helps. So leverage the information you have collected by reading faculty's publications, their research statements, their description on the web pages, as well as their funding statement. Use this information when you write in the email, but obviously keep the email short and to the point. As I say, they get a lot of emails. So if you have a very lengthy email, I'm not sure, like, you know, that will help. And you have to connect the dots, like how your correspondence, like the email or the communication you're doing reflects all these things, including but not limited, like your interest in the field, how faculty's research fits in that interest, and how your past research experience fits with overall lab research. And obviously use all the information you have, like what directions the research group is going into. Well-drafted email really helps, you know. And at the SSGSA, if you have some sort of drafts, whether they are research statements or even email drafts, please share. We would be more than happy to help you write, you know, good emails, like the emails which would be simple and help you in this process.
Mohsin bhai, I'm sorry. Obviously, we will have Q&A session, but just one relevant question to the slide which you presented. So here we are talking about lots of research, but we have lots of MS applicants as well from our SSGSA. So if MS applicant is applying and if he wants to reach out to a faculty for his admission, so what will be the different approach, or will it be the same, exactly same thing?
So most of the U.S. master's program do have a thesis options, and I would really encourage, like, you know, if you want to go to the master's, like, you know, maybe sign up for that, and this will help you in many ways. Usually the master's students who are involved in the research, getting funding is easier for them than someone who is just doing a master without thesis, because then you are involved in research projects and you helping the group, and they will help you back. And even if you go for the jobs, if you have some sort of, like, you know, working experience, that helps. So obviously this information will help you. Obviously you will reach out to the professors even you applying for the masters, and if you are more informed, if you know more about them, you can pitch yourself in, like, you know, a nicer way.
Okay. Maybe I can also, you know, jump in here. I think that's a good question, and we had, like, you know, talked about a lot on details on the research and the faculty research and their funding. I guess for the master's student, as well as Mohsin mentioned, that many times if you want to just go into the plain masters or something, the funding is the most challenging part. Yeah, I mean, if you just want to do like, non-thesis masters, so there are sometimes, students who want to go the thesis route and others they don't. And some people, they are interested in research, some of the students are not. But no matter what, it is like, important that even if you are trying to get into a master's program, if you have done some background research or internship in showing an expertise in some kind of like particular research area, that comes out handy. And as I will like talk about in the next slide is like importance of having like how you go about doing it in order to secure admissions in the master's and PhD program. So we can go to the next slide at this time. So, Mohsin gave a very detailed way of looking for funding. I mean, so seeing that how much a professor has the money and research and so on. But when you start thinking about getting into a master's or a PhD program, I would suggest and I will highly recommend that you need to start the GRE preparation a year in advance. Even if you have like, done a wonderful research or you are the topper of the class or whatever university you are in, if your GRE score is low, don't expect anything. You can do all your research and everything, but if your score is not good, it will be very difficult for you to get admitted even in mediocre university. So if you think that if you scored like 300 or less, I think even if you have like some experience coming to US for an internship and doing a wonderful work and so on, you may not even qualify their minimum requirement of a university. So before you like start to do everything, put lot of emphasis in the preparation process. So if you are like able to score at least 310 or more, I mean 320 is great, 330 is wonderful, but if you are getting like score much low, then I think all the other things will not work. So that's like number one. That's why we have put in the bold. And of course, I'll go over quickly the other things. Mohsin did mention about the internship and examples like you can go to the good schools because some of the schools in India, they are very very much recognized, like ISCT, IFR, IITs, and there are other very reputed institute in India or like a known company if you have like done some work there. And the other thing that I want to emphasize here that don't just fix your eyes on the top schools, because of course, even if you have a perfect score, you may not like get into Harvard or Princeton or so on, because we have some examples where somebody scored very high, but they did not know about AMU or like any other smaller universities. So sometimes it is like difficult there. So the GRE and TOEFL score, you want to look into the mid-level universities, and also sometimes like there are better chances of getting assistantships there. And we have gone into a lot more details about contacting professors and so on. Sometimes it is a good idea to do that even before you apply to that university, because application fee is expensive. Many times it is $100 or more just to apply, and it takes a lot of effort and time. So if you see that your GRE score is just meeting that or it's low, then don't even bother in contacting those professors. So basically you need to know. Is there a question or something? So just let me just finish that. Like there are two more other things I want to cover here. And with the application process, you want to be more quantitative than qualitative. I mean, just an example I have cited here that if you stood second in your class of 150 students, you should write rather than just mentioning you were second or third or fourth. So those are the important things there. And never think that if you're not getting admission in a top university, then your career will not fly. I think that's a myth. Even if you are in some like mid-level university, you could actually do better from compared to somebody who was at the top level university. It all depends with whom you are working. I mean, how did you perform in your master's and PhD program? How much you are active in collaborative research, or like I mean, making networking. Sometimes this is especially for the master's students in engineering. It's really like I mean, critical that you attend the information session from the companies that are coming and visiting your campus. You have to make friends with the people in those companies, because the next time when they will come, they will remember you, and at least you will get a interview, or like I mean, that's the first step on the in the interview. If you get in the campus, that is very important. So in addition to like I mean, looking at your resume and so on, and they will just see the name. Hey, oh, that guy met me. So I think they're very interested and shown interest in our company. We should at least invite him for the interview on campus. And if you do well, then they will definitely invite you on site, and you could do well. So these are like I mean, some of the things I just wanted to point out. I know the time is not much, so we can open up for Q&A. And I think there are a few other slides after this, and regarding that, how you should like make sure that you should like contact your mentors at SSGSA who have lots of experience. And definitely it is important that you should try to don't shy off. If you don't get like a response in your first email, write it again. Don't think that, oh, I wrote it and I did not get a response, so it's not going to work. So everyone is busy, but if you are a student, it's okay to like write it again to get your answers. So that is it, and I guess these are the things that SSGSA mentors can help you with your application process. And let's open the Q&A, Rajat. Sorry, I took a little more time.
No problem, it's fine. I'm about to open the Q&A, and I'll unmute the presenters, and then one by one you can ask, like you can be added into the question queue, and I'll ask the questions accordingly.
Before going to Q&A, just one few seconds, I just want to clarify to our attendee that here actually Saib Bhai tried to, when Saib Bhai said that don't apply to the top schools, that doesn't mean that we are actually discouraging you from applications. Actually, we are talking about more realistic things. So actually, if your application profile gets extraordinary, okay, obviously there is nothing wrong in applying. But here actually Saib Bhai told about realistic things, that sometimes we think that our profile is so good, but actually they are not. So that's why he said that you have to, when applying, you have to be realistic about your profile.
I would like to add here, perhaps he was also mentioning that you do a good combination. So there could be, let's say you're applying to 5 universities, 1 or 2 are really like, top universities, something in middle, and something which is like your backup plan. So we always in SESA suggest in a way that you choose university so that you have more room and more possibilities.
Great. So are we ready to start the Q&A?
Yes, Rajat, you can go with the order that we received some of the questions, so in order to be fair.
Sure. So I've started the Q&A session, and let me unmute Saib Bhai and Mohsin Bhai. Yeah. I have a first question from Mazhar. Okay, Mazhar, you're unmuted. You can ask your question. Mazhar, please ask.
Hello, yes. So I have to ask, like, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so the question is, I have also asked in the chat section. Actually, I wanted to know that what is more important, like reaching out to a more reputed supervisor, or should I choose for a reputed university?
Mohsin, if I can take this.
Yes, please.
Yeah. This is a very important question that you have asked, and in fact, it should be a combination of both. But certainly, uh, it's like I mean, important. It depends, like if you're in a master's or a PhD program. So if you are like, I mean, going for the master's program and very little research may be involved and so on, so I would definitely go give more preference to a higher grade university compared to like, I mean, because you may just have a touch of it in the research, but if you are going for a PhD program and so on, then it comes like your publications and all those things will matter. So I would give a little more preference for the faculty with whom I am going to work. But both the things are important, but it all depends that what's your focus. If you are going to a very good university and your work is not that impactful and your the publications are in a low grade journals, then it may not help. So I hope you understand that I mean how you want to balance between the two. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Mohammed. Next is Vibhu Varshney. Yeah, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Vibhu, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Good. So I have a few questions, more than one. So please bear with me. The first question that I have is, recently I've got my TOEFL score and I scored 101 in that. And I was going through the university list, and I found that in University of Maryland, College Park, the minimum requirement for reading section was sorry, was I audible?
Yeah, reading section was.
So the minimum requirement for reading section was 26, but I got only 25, 1 mark less. But the overall minimum requirement was 100, and I am meeting that requirement because I scored 101. So should I apply to that university or should I not? Because just previously one of the speaker said that if you don't meet the minimum requirement, then don't bother to apply there. So what would you suggest, Mohsin bhai? I think you have done from University of Maryland, College Park.
Yeah, thank you for your question. I agree. I agree that usually you should be applying to the universities where you are meeting at least the minimum criteria, or even having higher scores. But nonetheless, you can always reach out to your graduate program director. And sometime I have seen. I know a few folks, what they did was there were 1 or 2 points less in, let's say, in their writing or reading sections, and they still let them come into the graduate program because the other part of their application was extraordinary. And sometimes they also have on-campus test for these things. So for example, if somebody scored 23 and minimum score was 25, and then university may also ask you to qualify for their in-house English exam. So these are the few things, but obviously, I will really encourage you to apply to a place where you exceed the minimum criteria. I think Safa can add if I missed something.
Yes, it is important because in the past we have seen that if you have not met the minimum requirement, unless you are really interested in that particular university, because there are thousands of universities, and of course there will be, like, several opportunities for you in other places, because the moment if you don't meet the minimum requirement, the clerical staff which is looking into those things, even if you have spoken to the graduate coordinator, you may be rejected. So in my view, that if you are not, because they will see that, okay, they will run some program and they will put the information of all the applicants in one place, and they may just, cut out like those who are not meeting the requirement. So unless you really are very interested, or you have already contacted a professor there who is interested in your credentials, then I will go for it. Otherwise, I would suggest not to apply there.
So okay, so you mentioned about that program, and I already been advised about this.
We have few more participants who want to ask questions. So
Okay.
if you have any more question, you can just email us.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'll take two more questions. The next question is from Syed Asnar. Go ahead, ask the question, Syed Asnar.
Hello everyone. First of all, my question is, like, if I'm limiting, am I audible?
Yeah.
My question is, I am limiting my applications only till Europe, European universities only. So what I wanted to ask is whether I should, like, I tried finding some scholarships also, but those scholarships are like they are asking for IELTS, but the universities I'm looking for, most of the universities I'm looking for are asking for TOEFL. So whether and both are equivalent only. So whether I should go with IELTS or I should go with the TOEFL, like which examination I should appear, TOEFL or IELTS?
Mohsen?
Yes, thank you. So perhaps if in the Europe, because Europe is quite a big and things vary from one part to the another. If you're applying for the UK, obviously I would like you to write IELTS. But there are in Germany and other places, if you're writing the TOEFL, usually they consider it as well. Sometimes if you are confused, like let's say there are some universities you want to apply and they have listed that they want IELTS, and some universities that say they need TOEFL. I think the best way to go about is write them and ask them, do they consider, for example, TOEFL in a university where they have listed some sort of score for the IELTS. So this is one way you could do. But perhaps, like, if you're going to the UK, most of the British universities they require IELTS.
And one of the
Thank you so
things
much.
I want to add here, just for information for everyone, that the students should not restrict themselves that they want to apply only in the Europe and they don't want to touch on the US side for unless there is a very strong reason. It is helpful to apply even in US, and where the TOEFL scores are accepted in most places. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a
sir.
good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, next question is from Sheikh Salahuddin. Go ahead and ask your
Hello,
question.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, if I have a research experience in a particular field and if I don't find many opportunities in that field, I mean, what should I do? I mean, how should I make my application more acceptable? And my second question is that I mean, in these days, I am in conversation in a professor with a professor, and he's interested in my work. I mean, we discuss. I mean, what I have done because it is related what he's doing. So, how should I ask him that I want to work with you? So that I mean, how should I write so that it will be more, I mean, acceptable? He should accept my request. Or
So
thanks.
I can, I mean, maybe briefly respond to your question. I don't think that any professor who is going to take you will be considering you as an expert in that particular field, because you are just going to start the graduate program. What they are looking into it, whether you have some kind of an experience in the research area, not necessary in their own area, but the equipments that you have used and the technical know-how you have gained from the research. Because it is perfectly fine that you can contact somebody in a research area that you are interested in, because in the undergraduate level, I mean, you don't really do a research work, and that you have to continue into your career. So do not really think that way, that you cannot apply like an to professor where your own research doesn't match. And what was your second part?
Second was, I mean, I am in conversation with the professor. I mean, we discuss what he's doing right now. Now, I want to write him an email that I want to work with you as a, I mean, graduate student. But I am confused. What should I write so that he can accept?
No, you should write about his work, because if you have, even though you have not worked in that area, but if you have done some research about his work, and you just say that you are excited about his work and you are interested to work with him, that should be good enough. I mean, that is important, because people, especially the faculty members, they feel good that somebody has even looked into their research work or read some papers and then writing to them. Okay?
Okay, thanks. Thanks.
Sahib and Mohsin bhai, we have two more questions. If we can take them, or I can redirect them to the email. Whatever is fine with you.
We can take it,
Yes.
if there are just two questions.
Okay. So next question is from Muhammad Abdul Wahab. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
My question is, I want to know some universities which are economic, MS in computer science, which are economic, and my GRE score is 310 and IELTS score is 6.5.
Maybe Rajat, you want to take this question?
Yes.
Rajat, you there?
Hello.
I think we missed Rajat.
Waiting to hear from him. So anyway, Mohammed, do you want to take this
Should I add something, sir?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned some score in GRE and also in your English exam, and if you have followed through the talk we had, I would encourage you to research like the pupil you may be interested, and even the universities, going through their graduate school websites and the departmental page and see if this score will fit. What was the average score when they accepted the graduate students in last few years? And as I said, you can always write to us. We can help. You can send us the emails, share your resume and scores and things, and then we can help you with the process. Nonetheless, you also have to do some work, like research the universities and make a big list, and then work from there and shorten the list as you are close to the application.
Okay, thank you for your help.
Next question we have from Muhammad Ali Khan. Yeah, go ahead and ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum all. I am preparing for GMAT. Please discuss briefly about the scholarship for MBA, which I find very rare that we get for MBA program in US.
I think Safi can add.
I'm sorry, I did not hear it clearly. I mean, can you repeat your question?
I am preparing for GMAT. Please discuss briefly about the scholarship for MBA programs in US.
Okay. One of the okay, you're preparing for GMAT. You already got your score.
No, I'm preparing for GMAT.
Oh, okay, okay. So one of the thing I don't want to disappoint you, but I want to let you know that scholarships in the MBA programs are rare, and it's not like I mean easy unless like I mean you you have like I mean done some kind of due diligence in talking to the professors there and who can take your help because in general scholarships in the MBA programs like they don't have there may be like few of them, but it is very difficult to get the scholarship. Many of the Indian students who come here for MBA, they take loans from from the banks and so on, which I know of, and so you have to try writing like to some of the professors who have grants, and you can help them with their work during the MBA program. But it is like difficult, and especially if you are like applying to depending on the schools. So if you have a very high GMAT score, sometimes there is a possibility. And I can give an example. Someone from Aligarh who had like done her MBBS from Aligarh and did some lot of like work in a company. That person was able to get a scholarship even at from MIT Sloan School. So it all depends. So you may have to look into specific schools that what they have to offer.
Sir, will it be okay to apply for Masters in Management programs like Masters in Management? Actually, I have admission in different 2 universities in UK in MSc in Management program, University of Cranfield and Warwick. So scholarship was the problem. That's why I have deferred the admission for 1 year. So should I try for Masters in Management program like courses in US?
Yeah, see, there are lots of like programs related to the management, some like masters or management in the human resources and information systems and masters or management. They call it with the different names. But if you are like looking into purely from the business side, it is better that you have like go for a direct like masters of business administration, which is MBA. And many schools they offer MBA and MIS and MBA and MHA and different like ways they structure that. But if you are looking into a business degree, it's actually better to be going to an MBA program.
Okay. Several just one more thing. Other than getting the GMAT the score, what else can I do for my to get a scholarship?
Yeah. See, again, first is that in order to get the admission in a good school, it is important, maybe not that important in other graduate programs of engineering or like, in the sciences. Uh, but in the business MBA degree, it's one first thing important is that you have to do that from a good school. It carries a lot of weight. If you say that I have graduated from this school, it carries a lot of weight, in the long run. And in order to get like, scholarship, there is no specific things, but of course, in addition to your GMAT score, you have to do good in essay writing. I mean, that's like one of the things are important, 2-3 essays that you write. They are looked into very, very carefully compared to in the top schools, compared to in other places, SOPs. So it carries a lot of weight, and then of course some kind of an experience that you have in the past. I mean, especially in the US, if you are just getting a degree, in engineering degree, for example, BTech, and then directly applying to MBA, you will have not that much advantage compared to a person who got like a BTech degree and did like a 2 or 3 year of work with the work experience. So that carries like a lot of it. And then in addition to that, of course, your credentials and so on, and the letters of recommendations, all those things matter.
Thank you so much for your guidance.
Sorry?
Yeah, just thank you.
Oh, okay, that's fine, and we can answer more specific questions via email or offline. So, Rajat, you can conclude if you want to, if there are no further questions.
Actually, in the chat box, I find in the chat box. Okay, I think someone's computer is in loudspeaker is repeating. Right. Okay. So in the hello.
What we could do that some of the questions that they have come, we can respond to those students via email.
Yeah. And I think there are questions which are very small questions. It can be answered in 2 seconds if you want to go through a few things.
It appears that most of the people have left the conference. There are only 10 people I see now.
But this will be recorded, so I think they can. Okay, they can.
I think it will be better if people email us, and then we can answer specific questions.
But if it's something very general, I don't see them. Vasikul, you could just respond to them, and we can conclude the session.
Okay, so just very quickly go to the see if we have missed any question in there. Okay. So they're asking what is a good GRE score. Also, it depends from university to university according to the requirement. So someone is asking that if we have internship in particular, and if I want to do PhD in a different field, how should I go? So that is also easy because as Saibhai said that in the master's program, by doing a project, you have not become an expert. So obviously, you can just if you have the requirement, you can always apply for others.
It's not clear. I cannot hear you very clearly. Maybe there is.
I think someone's speaker volume is up. If someone can, like, people can turn.
No, but I think when we are talking, yeah, it's fine.
Now it's better, I guess. Hello.
Hello.
I think let's put these questions together and respond to all the people who have attended the session. That will be better.
Yeah, fine. Thank you so much, Shaf Bhai and Mohsen Bhai, for having this such a wonderful webinar about university research and funding. I think all of the participants would be benefited very much about this great informative session. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. We hope to get further suggestions and guidance about how we could improve our applications and get into higher educational institutes in abroad. Thank you. Vasikul, if you would like to add something.
So nothing. So we have actually lots of useful information which will be very useful for our applicants. So I suggest those who attended that keep in touch with us. If you have any questions, just send us email. We can contact us. So
Okay, thank you, Rajat and Vasikul and Mohsen. I think this was a great session, and I hope the attendees they got benefited. And we will be posting this information, I believe, on the website and other places. So if anyone wants to was missing, they can definitely again hear this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajat, Vasikul, and Kapil. I think this was very good session, and I hope attendees get some useful information out of it. And I would like to thank all the people who participated in the webinar. And as Rajat and Vasikul have said, please feel free to email us if you have more questions. And I believe this presentation will also be uploaded online, so you can have access to it. Thank you.